Hey friends, welcome to this dog carrier bag tutorial. I'm using a mini version of the pattern so it's easier to show on camera. Choose your favorite fabric and let's start making the bag of your dreams. Let's begin by cutting the side pieces. You'll need to cut one piece on the fold from your main fabric and one piece on the fold from the lining. If your fabric isn't long enough, feel free to cut two separate pieces and sew them together. Just remember to add a 1 cm seam allowance where you'll join them. Next, we'll mark the strap placement on both sides of the main fabric piece. For this tutorial, I'm using bias tape instead of nylon straps because I'm recycling materials I already have at home. However, I recommend using a durable strap to ensure you can carry your dog safely. Make sure to transfer these markings onto your nylon straps as well, so they're properly secured in place. Now let's move on to the base piece. You'll need to cut 3 pieces in total, 1 for the base and 2 for the cushion. You can use either the main fabric or the lining for the cushion, depending on your preference. For the foam rubber, cut 1 piece for the cushion and 1 piece on the fold for the side. If your foam rubber panel isn't long enough, you can cut 2 separate pieces and join them in the center using a zigzag stitch. As you can see, I'm simply joining the pieces by hand using a zigzag stitch. You can also do this with a sewing machine. Feel free to continue the zigzag stitch all the way around the edge. Then sew the other end of the piece using the same method. This is how it looks once completed. That's my cat Kaos in the background. Despite his name, he's the most well-behaved cat I've ever known. He's also very shy, so I try not to disturb him too much. Now it's time for the straps. I'm going to pin them to the marks I previously transferred from the pattern and then sew them following the diagram included in the instructions. I'll repeat this on both sides of the piece. Here's how it looks so far. You can fold the middle section of the strap and stitch it together. This makes it more comfortable on your shoulder and helps prevent it from slipping. Next, fold the whole piece in half with the right sides facing each other and sew the back seams together. Repeat the same step with the lining. Perfect. Now turn the lining right side out and insert it into the main fabric piece. Make sure the right sides are facing each other. Sew along the top seam all the way around. Great! Now I'll trim the corners and make small cuts about 1 centimeter apart along the curved edge of the bag. This helps release tension in the fabric so it lays smoothly once we turn the piece right side out. Once done, turn the piece right side out. To give the top a cleaner, crisper finish, you can turn the seam allowances toward the lining and top stitch the lining about 1 to 2 millimeters away from the seam. Be sure to also catch the seam allowances in your stitch by keeping them folded towards the lining, not the main fabric. You'll need to stop briefly at the edge and then continue stitching along the curve. If you prefer not to top stitch, make sure to press the seam well with an iron. Pressing your pieces as you go really gives your project a professional finish. I skipped the top stitching at the center here so you can clearly see the difference. Top stitching really helps keep the lining in place. You might notice that a small bit of the lining sticks out after this step. That's totally fine. You can just trim it carefully with scissors. Sorry for using these scissors, by the way. My partner is always borrowing my sewing scissors because they cut so well, and then I have to search the whole house to find any kind of scissors. Now, I'm going to insert the foam rubber layer between the main fabric and the lining, so the main fabric is on the outside and the lining is on the inside. Perfect. Next, turn the piece so the lining is facing out. Before attaching the base, it's helpful to pin the notches and center points first. This way, you won't have to pin too many layers at once. As you can see here, I'm starting to attach the base to the piece using the pins I placed earlier. Just remove each pin, align the base to that spot, and repin. This part can be a little fiddly, but don't worry, we're almost done. Perfect. I've now pinned the entire base, and I'm going to sew all the way around using my sewing machine. To finish the seam, you can use a zigzag stitch, an overlocker, or even bias tape, whatever you prefer, especially if you're using a fabric that frays easily. Now, turn the piece right side out, and your bag is finished. Let's move on to the cushion. Place the two cushion pieces right sides together and stitch all the way around, leaving an opening between the notches. If you're planning to insert a rigid plastic piece to help support your dog's weight, leave a larger opening so it's easier to insert later. Once you've sewn the cushion, turn it right side out and insert the foam rubber, and optionally, the plastic insert if you chose that option. Close the opening with a top stitch or an invisible ladder stitch. And that's it. You're done. You now have a fantastic handmade bag for your furry friend. Now you can head out for a walk, a shopping trip, or an adventure with your dog or cat in style.